Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all-new episode of That Star Trek Podcast, your unofficial place for all things Trek. My name is Sean Ray, and did you bring any snacks? I'm starving. Today, we will be discussing Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 5, which is titled Die Trying. It was written by James Duff and Sean Cochran and directed by Maha Vervillo. After reuniting with what remains of Starfleet and the Federation, the USS Discovery and its crew must prove that a 930-year-old crew and starship are exactly what this new future needs. And joining me in historic Cosmic Potato Studios, we have Rick. How's it going, sir? Rick?
Sorry. I had something to say, and then it just totally blanked. Hi.
I thought I froze or something.
I didn't know.
I
I did too. I thought,
froze.
like, you can't hear? Can you hear her?
No, my brain just locked up. Sorry. How's it going?
Virginia, how's it going?
Good. Hello, everyone.
And John?
I'm
Everybody's
good.
gonna do it.
I'm gonna I'll cede my time. I'll cede the remainder of my time to Rick and give him another chance.
I'm sitting.
And
right
we also
here.
have Brent. We also
I don't have a
Brandon.
snack,
How's it going?
but I do have a drink.
All right, so let's go around the table like we usually do, and we'll give a brief synopsis of what we think of what our thoughts are of the episode. We're probably not going to do a blow by blow breakdown of every plot point in the show because we did that last week, and I ended up editing for 3 hours the next day, and I don't want to do that tomorrow. So we're going to hit the highlights, and we're going to talk. We got a few things to talk about that happened in this episode. So, John, why don't you start? What did you think of this episode?
I like this episode, and I try not to get spoiled, but I think I saw some comment before I actually watched the episode about it looks like the Admirals are back. There's Admirals all the time. Honestly, he wasn't that bad. He really wasn't. I felt like his reactions were completely reasonable given the circumstances. I didn't feel like he was being a dick about it at all. I like that.
I think he came off that way at the beginning just because that I think that's and I think that the writers know this. I think that they know that that's what we expect and what we were kind of thinking was going to happen anyway. So I think that they wrote it that way for him to kind of come off at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, he had every reason to be skeptical of Saru and Michael when they came to see him. So
I like that they didn't draw out the search for Starfleet forever for episode after episode. I like that they found them. I like that they dropped the seeds for 2 or 3 more little mysteries. I'm so far I'm digging the pacing of events this season. So I mean it wasn't as good as last week. Like to me so far last week will be the bar to beat in terms of this season, but I thought it was a good episode.
all right, Rick, what about you?
Go to the next person.
Okay. I agree with John. This was not the worst. I still think the second episode was pretty bad. This one wasn't bad, but I have some serious concerns about all of the threads that they have introduced in this episode. They've got a lot of balls in the air and only 6 episodes to bring them all in with. I thought it was a little bit of, this week on Star Trek douchebags. Yes, the Admiral had every reason to be suspicious, but like everybody that talked to the Enterprise or to the Discovery crew were just absolute douches to everybody.
It was really just her. Just the I can't remember her name, but it was like the second in command chick.
Willa.
Willa.
And you know, he and the AIs and
let me pause you for just a second, Chris. I apologize. I forgot to send you the link, so that's why I'm bringing you in.
Wow.
It's kind of a passive
Where's
aggressive.
Chris? I don't know where Chris is.
I kind of deserve it.
Go ahead, Rick. I apologize.
I mean, this was by no means the worst episode of the season, or even the series. It wasn't the best. There's some really great things that happen in this episode that I want to talk about as we go on. I'm so sick of the "you're from the past and we hate you" kind of vibe that's been going on since this season began. Or not, we hate you, but it's just like everybody's so angry.
Well, I don't think that's directed at them. I think it's just like, things suck. So
we live in a post-apocalyptic Star Trek world, and we don't trust anybody.
Yeah,
I get that, but they're all acting like it just happened. But it's all, 130 years ago.
Well, maybe it's that Discovery reminds them of what they've lost, how much they've lost.
Maybe.
Well, think about how shady it would be. Like the line stands that there are two truths, and now that exist in the same space, and that doesn't ever turn out well. Obviously, there's something that is like what their official history says is wrong, and they're like, well, we've had enough alien invasions throughout our history that maybe we're being mind controlled by some new space fungus or something like that. Like. They legit have reason to, in this episode at least, to be like, I don't know that we trust you.
I don't disagree, but it's like, how many times did we see Jean-Luc Picard in a sketchy situation, but he was still like, give them the royal suite in the guest quarters. We will treat them nicely until we find out there's a reason not to.
Well, but that's a different world.
It is, but it's
that's the difference between living in a palace and living in the ghetto. Like they can't afford the niceties. They are, the Federation is demolished effectively.
Yeah, I guess I just
he can't. Like he said, I can't afford. Basically, I can't afford to just take you at your word, and he's right.
And I'm not arguing that. I'm not saying that there was any the motivations were wrong. It's just there was so much rudeness in this episode. It wore on.
He's in a situation.
You're breaking up, Sean.
Now he really did freeze on us. All right. While Sean's gone, who gets to turn the teacher's desk upside down?
Well,
this is what we do in class, right?
Where if they are.
Sean doesn't even know he's frozen.
No. Much like
he was
Star
Can you hear me now?
communications have also broken down.
Now we can.
Can you hear me now?
We heard you say, "Can you hear me now?" But
You're very choppy.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
So in the bottom
you're
at
like
the
a
cam
GIF
and
right
mic,
now.
if you go into show advanced on camera, you can drop your resolution down, and that might help you. Tell the grandkid to stop downloading movies off of YouTube, because that's what they do these days, right? in my day, it was stop downloading music, but
Oh, he should be asleep by now.
that's what you think. Just wait.
Like
He should be.
200 hours of Paw Patrol.
Oh, I see. I know what's happening. Hold on.
Somebody forgot to turn off their backup
Okay.
software.
Can you hear me now? Is that any better?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay.
That's just for me.
I think I know what was happening. My computer was downloading some updates without my permission, so I paused it. So it should be okay now. Yeah, he's in a situation where if they are bad, and he screws up and lets it get away from him, then it's really bad for him, and for the Federation. So yeah, I mean, I understand he kind of acted like an a-hole about everything, but he's also in charge of he's in charge of an organization that's constantly failing. I mean, he said that they were at like 38 worlds now, and they were at 350 at the highest.
Yeah,
which is a lot bigger because
about the Admiral. I mean, Willa, who was just an absolute lots of bad words to everybody.
It was more Willow, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brandon, what about you? What do you think?
You know what? I liked the episode a lot. I got so excited when they flew into in past the little cloaking field thing, and they saw all those ships. I got a little teared up for them. I'm like, this is Starfleet. This is Star Trek. Look at the ships. Look at the ships. and I was excited about that. And so I wish we would have spent more time on that, because honestly, that was the one thing that I think that they've been missing in a lot of this Discovery stuff is they're on a ship that's antiquated even from TNG era, and they're thrown 900 years into the future, and they're like, oh, well, all of our technology can seamlessly work with this other one. Oh, it's a view screen. That's weird. You know, at some point, the developers stop writing compatibility for view screens because the ships stop having them. And so the fact that they're like, hey, we have no control over this, like we're locked out, they're doing their thing. I felt good about that. Like them being like, oh my gosh, that ship's organic. That one has holographic walls. I'm like, this is what Star Trek is. This is the thinking about where is technology going? Like, we don't have to know how exactly to get there, but where is it going, and where would it be? And then they have it, because, you know, if you look at TOS, those old scientists era, their technology is crappier than ours today, but because they thought, where's technology going, they were able to do that. And that's what I was so excited to see about that. I thought it was dumb that they all ran to the windows to look at the ships. I'm like, if you're so excited about seeing all these ships, you're going to run to your computer terminal, which has, in this world, holographic displays, and you're going to be looking at all the scans because you want to see what exactly those ships are, as opposed to, oh, that ship has two disconnected nacelles. That's cool.
I would totally run to the window.
Yeah, it didn't even dawn on me that the window
Speaking
was
for myself. I would absolutely run for the window.
Yeah, we're finally seeing because, like I said before, the designers are having to design the future of the future. So we have to show a future that's advanced beyond the future that is Discovery, and make it so that they're like, oh, and all that kind of stuff, you know. So
by the way, am I wrong, or was the set with the windows the same hallway where the climax of the trouble with Herman or whatever that short trek was, where all the tribbles were filling up the hallway? I'm pretty sure that was the same set.
I couldn't tell.
No,
I couldn't tell. Possibly.
It's like you work on the technical side of theater, Rick.
says the man who noted the programming evolution. and how this tech wouldn't be able to, how this software wouldn't be able to communicate with that software.
I mean, you know what? It's always bugged me that Scotty could work a keyboard and could make a Mac do what
Exactly.
I loved it.
Hello, computer.
And because he was rusty. He was like, oh, right, I remember this is like in elementary school. You know, we got to do the thing.
Virginia, what'd you think?
While we're on the topic of ships, could we take one moment to acknowledge the USS Nog Eisenberg class?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Believe me, it was in my notes. Eisenberg class, USS Nog, NCC 325070. And I was wondering if the number had any significance. I couldn't find online that it had any significance at all, but I thought it might be his birthday, but it's not, you know. But yeah, that was great.
I did confirm when I rewatched it this afternoon, you can't see it. You have to, they had to tell us. I mean, maybe if you've got a 4K TV and you can zoom in, maybe, but like on my computer screen, which is perfectly adequate, I could not in any way see the marking that it was USS Nog. But
I saw it
just in case-
after I saw the that it had happened, and I went back and rewatched the episode. I saw it at the end. They show it twice because they show it there at the beginning, but then you see it again at the end.
Oh, really? I didn't look for it.
Yeah. So you see it the second time because I was watching it the second time, and I thought that's what I saw. And I told my wife, I said, "It's the Nog. And she's like, "Would you calm down and not wake the baby
up?" Virginia, do you want to tell folks what the hell we're talking about if they don't know?
Oh, so in Deep Space Nine, Aaron Eisenberg played the character Nog, a Ferengi who ended up in Starfleet. Sadly, Aaron Eisenberg passed away not this September just now, but the September before last, I believe.
Yeah.
And very, very unexpectedly, very suddenly. And I believe there's been petitions, both official and unofficial, to have current Star Trek franchises honor him or recognize him in some way. And I think the writers decided to do this for that.
Well, they had Captain Nog was in The Visitor in DS9, the episode where Sisko was caught in like a time vortex and he kept appearing to Jake throughout Jake's history, and Tony Todd played the older Jake. And at one point in the future, Captain Nog came to visit Jake. And then when Eisenberg passed away, everybody was like, we got to do something. And there was an interview with Alex Kurtzman last year where he said they would do something, but he was really vague about what they were going to do. And it almost sounded like, yeah, we'll get around to something. Let's move on to the next question. And then they did this, and it was just amazing.
Didn't Eisenberg play Captain Nog? Wasn't he?
Yeah,
he play him?
It was still Eisenberg. Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that was weird at the time that they had to have Tony Todd play Jake, but Nog's just the same guy.
No, they use a lot of makeup because it's a Ferengi. Yeah. You can do that.
Well, right. And also,
do y'all remember?
Lofton was 18.
Yeah.
Aaron Eisenberg was like 25, 26, something like that. He one of the things, the reason he passed away so suddenly is he had a lot of health issues, including like he had at least one kidney transplant, maybe two, which stunted his growth, which is why he was able to play a young Nog. It was kind of like Gary Coleman, where, Gary Coleman was a lot older than anyone knew he was because he had health issues that stunted his growth. So he looked like he was like 12 years old, but he was in his 20s. And it was the same thing with Eisenberg. So he had the maturity to play older Nog, whereas Sirach Lofton really kind of didn't because he was still a teenager.
Yeah. Virginia, you were saying something, I think.
Do you, the What We Left Behind documentary, am I remembering this wrong, or was there a scene when they were talking about like if there was the next season of Deep Space Nine, and like here comes Captain Nog and his ship through the wormhole, and then boom, it explodes.
Yeah, that was the big beginning.
He like storms out of the interview like, oh, this and all this stuff. It made me think of that. It made me laugh. So.
Yeah. Chris, what about you? What'd you think?
I don't know if we ever got Virginia's initial impressions.
Oh, Virginia. I'm sorry.
I'm frustrated at the CBS app because I have not been able to watch this episode start to finish in one sitting since it aired. So I've been watching it like in little chunks as it lets me. So from what I watched, I mean, I liked it. I can kind of see, even though I had been wondering how the Discovery would fit in with like the future ships. And I like that the Federation is now disconnected. And since Discovery has this Spore drive where they can go wherever, I see them like playing this key element where they're going to reunite the Federation. And I think that's kind of cool. But other than that, I'm really going to have to depend on y'all's input because I
agree with you on the CBS app does not work on my TV. I can't watch this show on my TV. I have to watch it either on my laptop or I have to watch it on my phone or something. So
It runs
so
fine on
Virginia,
our Fire Stick.
you
See,
have
it's
seen.
not working on my Fire Stick. It's really weird.
So you have seen the whole episode, just chopped up. So like
Yes.
we're fine to not spoil anything.
Correct.
Okay.
See, I'm mad at the app because I tried to watch it from my phone, AirPlayed to my TV. Or no, I just tried to watch it on my phone with my Bluetooth headphones in. And it just had this big thing across it. Now being played on AirPlay is like, no, you're using my headphones. But it put that bit, so I had to not watch it on my phone even. Or use my phone to stream to watch it. Yeah, it was the CBS app needs a lot of work.
It
yeah.
does.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
Rick, where do I begin? Not only was this probably the best episode of Discovery, I think this was a really good episode of Star Trek. I have to say, like Brandon, I teared up when they went through the force field and saw all of the ships. I was just so excited, like a little squee moment, little squee boy. And I really, I enjoyed the vibe in the new Starfleet. I like the fact that I thought that guy was a bad commander, like Jellicoe was a bad commander, in the sense that Jellicoe wasn't a bad commander. He just wasn't a guy that you liked, like Picard. He just had a job to do, and he was doing it. And just because he's at odds with the characters you do like doesn't make him a dick. It just makes him somebody who you don't know yet. So I loved that aspect of it, and the fact that he was so cagey with them, and so just basically, talk to the hand. You're all getting debriefed. We just got through temporal wars. There's a whole universe. There's a century that they know nothing about, and I really loved that aspect of it. And okay, it was a little corny that we're going to show you that we can all work together as a crew, and we're better together than apart. But I think at the end of the day, that stuff really worked, and I liked the mission that they went on to go to the seed depository to get the seeds. I mean, what is more quintessentially Star Trek? Like a boring seed depository as the nexus of your story. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then they get there and there's still like a bunch of Star Trek crap going on where the guy is phasing in and out of, what was that, like a transporter phase? What? Phasing was just like a catch-all. He's phasing
from the sun.
Didn't they essentially have that same thing in Lower Decks? Like, my question is, why wasn't there the whirring sound with him?
But I mean, there was a lot of that, a lot of some of the same Michael beats that we've grown used to, and Saru having to like batter down, and I think that while I'm getting kind of tired of that, I still think it works because I think Michael's character is just a better character overall this season. Like I can put up with it more this season because I like her more this season. I mean, I've always liked her, but I just feel like the character has a different center this season. And
okay, story-wise, though, isn't it weird that she was put in charge?
Isn't it weird that she went to the trill pool with
yeah.
Well, she's the first officer now, so I mean, she's the first officer now, so she would be put in charge if Saru wasn't on the bridge.
Can you ever imagine any other Star Trek captain being like, you know what, I'll hang out here. You all take the ship, and that person, she's really good. We're going to make sure she goes on every mission.
I'll be your hostage. One thing that struck me, and this is a question. I kind of wish Scott was here because I know he would get technical on this question. I watched the scene from next week's episode, when Saru is standing around with all the other captains and admirals and they're having a meeting. He's still in his Discovery uniform. Wouldn't that be the first thing that they would do is put on?
I've been wondering about that too. Are they going to change to the new uniforms? I've heard people bitching about the uniforms online, and I'm like, they're uniforms. Shut up.
I mean, Pike put on a Discovery uniform when he came on the Discovery, right? So
now you know what Burnham's this episode really made me think about the numerous times in season 2 where I was like, I just want Pike at one point to just go, can't anyone on this effing ship follow an order the first time I give it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she was, and I loved the fact that Saru called her out on it, because he's like, you of all people should have learned this damn lesson by now.
Yeah.
Shut up and say yes, sir, and do what you were told.
So some of the things that they saw when they got to the Federation headquarters was basically floating in space and had a shield around it so that it was kind of hidden. And once they went through that shield, they saw all these ships. They saw a USS Constitution, or they saw a Constitution class ship. I saw a Memory Alpha that it was the Constitution,
There's some controversy about that, whether they said it was the Constitution or a Constitution. It can't be a Constitution class.
I think they
I wouldn't think so.
Constitution class, isn't it? Is that? I really think they were talking about a Constitution class.
I
Constitution class.
Yeah, she said Constitution class. She's like, oh, it's an upgrade. They upgraded the Constitution class.
And I'm wondering if maybe her readouts were telling her that was a Constitution class, because she wouldn't have known from looking at it that they had made a new Constitution class, and that's what they were calling it. But if she had her computer would tell her registry numbers and all that kind of stuff.
It never occurred to me, was the Enterprise A the last Constitution class?
Well, there's okay.
I mean, canonically on screen.
Canonical weirdness in that, because depending on the sort, it was never said on screen. Okay, when Scotty said the Constitution class, he got the TOS Enterprise. Or when Picard came in and went Constitution class.
Yeah.
Constitution class. In the books, in the tech manuals I have, the refit Enterprise was renamed an Enterprise class. But I have also seen other non-canon references saying that it was still a Constitution class. So there's some. It hasn't been officially locked in canonically as to whether the refit Enterprise and Enterprise A were Constitution or Enterprise class.
Yeah. They saw a ship that had detached nacelles, like the Cerritos, I guess, has detached nacelles.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have detached nacelles.
Well, they're detached from the body of the ship.
There always are. They were talking about the nacelles were not physically connected to the rest of the ship.
They were floating. Okay. See, some of this stuff I heard them say, and I couldn't. There was a lot going on the screen.
Could you guys, I mean, I have a good resolution TV, and my app was working well when I watched it for a change. Thank goodness. I still had a hard time making out a lot of, there could have been more resolution, better lighting. It just seemed like very blue and black.
It was dark,
blue
but
is my problem with this whole season. Everything is freaking blue.
Well, I've always thought
Discovery palette is driving me nuts.
But if you're gonna have ship porn, give me some detail. I want ship porn, I want clear ship porn.
Tilly notes that some of the ships don't even have traditional hulls. They are comprised entirely of holographic containment walls, which is an interesting concept, that your entire ship is a hologram. That would make it a lot easier to build ships, because you just ship. It also seems like it would be really dangerous, because what if your computer wigged out and you were in the middle of space, all of a sudden you're floating in space because your
ship
just vanishes out from under you.
Regular walls too, though. If your computer wigs out and you're in the middle of space, you're just floating in space. You're still screwed.
Yeah,
because
I took it in my headcanon. This was a ship that was out, doing a thing. Something happened. They breached hull security, and their Scotty had the idea, like, can we use the hard light emitters from whatever, but can we shore up the walls with that? I was like, yeah, it worked. And they limped back to, they limped to the nearest space station. I was like, you know what? I think we can do this. And then they did it.
Hard light emitters, an essential subgenre of ship porn.
The hard light emitters are
on a quantum level.
That's from Red Dwarf, right?
Yeah, that's what Rimmer wants to be, right?
Yeah, he's made of hard light. Yeah,
really true. I didn't answer the show. I think I was taking that from DC Comics. I have a question for Rick.
Okay.
Are you happy that they seem to have finally put the the end to interactions with the mirror universe?
Yes. Oh well,
It's moved further and further away.
Seem to.
They have
eh,
seemed to. They haven't had a crossing
Yeah.
in, was it
in
500 years.
500 years.
They
Yeah.
sure know a shitload about it now.
But
Well, sure.
yeah, that doesn't mean that she. We'll get into that in a minute. Before we get to that, I want to talk about the Voyager because, and there's actually been a lot of discussion about this because it almost seems like Discovery is tweaking canon a little bit because from the way that Tilly and Owasakan. Okay. Owasakan. Okay. Owasakan. There you go. The way they were talking about it, they talk like this is the Voyager. And they put a J at the end of it. And, in Star Trek canon, there's always been that you put a letter at the end of it, it's a different ship. And they named it after the original ship. But, she says Tilly messes up and says it's the 10th evolution. And then she says, no, it's the 11th, which is correct. But 10th or 11th generation evolution does not necessarily mean this is the 10th or 11th ship by that name. She would have said that if it was the 11th ship by that name.
Why?
It sounds like that ship has evolved. And this is...
Okay, first of all, Voyager was 100 years after Discovery existed.
I know.
So they
but it said Voyager on
the
the...
I mean, it's got a label on it.
She's never
but what
seen
I'm
a
saying
ship
is-
with the J.
What I'm saying, there's no way they would even think that this is the original Voyager.
No,
refitted.
that's not what I'm saying.
I think Sean's
That's not what I'm
talking
saying.
something different. Sean is saying that they're like, holy crap, they've got a J after their name. That means there's been 11 evolutions of that ship.
And
And
referring to the Beecher.
Yeah.
but so is that what you're getting at, Sean? Because I think because when Scotty came to TNG, he was like, show me the Enterprise, no bloody A, B, C, or D. So even the Enterprise, that we're seeing with Pike soon, hopefully.
Well, it's like there's been like 6 Enterprises, right? As far as when we got through Nemesis, there's like 6 Enterprises, right? And every one of them, except for the first 2, are different classes. They're not necessarily the same class. They're just all called Enterprise, and they've all got J. They've all got letters after their names and everything. But this looks like it's still Intrepid class. So they wouldn't necessarily all the Voyagers be Intrepid class starships.
No, it was just kind of Intrepid-ish. It had that kind of pointy.
I think you just don't want to agree with me.
I don't understand your objection.
I don't agree with you for different reasons.
I'm saying that I think that Discovery, I think that the show writers of Discovery, the showrunners, are trying to tweak canon a little into saying that putting a letter at the end of the ship's name does not necessarily mean that it's a new ship, that this is the Voyager because she said that ship's got to have some stories, like this ship's been around for a long time.
I didn't take it that way at all.
I disagree. I do disagree with that.
I think that's you, Sean.
All right, I'm out. Bye.
because that would be that would literally be 1,000-year-old ship. You don't think
they
keep talking about how we're not 1,000 years old. They're not 1,000 years old. They're a ship from 1,000 years ago, but the ship is still 10 years old or however long it's been around. And that's something that always bugs me with time travel stories like that. With, Buck Rogers, like, I was doing shit before your grandfather was in diapers. And we're like, no, you skipped over a buttload of years. It's not like you're Methuselah and you have 1,000 years of wisdom behind you.
Okay, so I want to go back to what Sean said. However, I do want to what Rick just said about time travelers just skipping over that time. Okay, that kind of has bugged me on Voyager in a couple places where it's like Michael hasn't seen, or not Voyager, Discovery. Michael hasn't seen Discovery for a year when they met up. And she's like, oh my gosh, I found you guys. and everyone on the ship is like, "Oh, we missed you so much, Michael." It's like she was gone for 15 minutes from your perspective, and
She was gone for a day, and they don't know she made it. Like they
yeah,
didn't.
and I mean, and that's fair. That's fair. But then, like when there were some other things, like with Senatal, when she was, or not Senatal, what's her new name?
Adira.
Adira Tal. When she was when the crew was getting all excited about, I can't even remember what it was, but I was like, why would Adira be excited about this? I understand why the crew's super excited about this, and I can't remember what it was. So it makes it hard to argue with me. I know. Just assume I'm right. They're acting like they have been away from Starfleet for so long, where really it's been a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Brendan, there are narrative truths and there are emotional truths, and sometimes you got to walk a different side of the line.
And that's fair.
And I would offer you this. As a parent, if you're in Chuck E. Cheese and you can't find your kid for 5-10 minutes, even though you're looking desperately for them, and you go home, is your wife going to say, "Oh, it was only 10 minutes"? I could have lost them the whole day, I guess.
I'm so happy you're alive. Now I'm going to kill you.
I'm just not sure that if it wasn't supposed to be, I'm going back to the same argument.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm not sure that if it wasn't supposed to be the Voyager, that they would have spent that much, that they would have made that big of a fuss.
They wanted to name drop Voyager.
Because
I mean, the Defiant had a ship called the Defiant, and then much later on in history, they had another ship called the Defiant. They had
and that one blew up, and then they named another one the Defiant.
Yeah,
but exactly. this one they panned across it, and then they made a big deal of showing us the registry number and everything
because it was called Voyager.
Because people want to see, oh, that's Voyager.
I mean, 930 years in the future, there's obviously a ship somewhere called the Enterprise, and they're not jumping that out.
Is it obvious, or did it blow up in the burn?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna let it go.
No, you're not. You're gonna stop talking about it.
He's not gonna let it go, but he's gonna stop talking about it.
You do not need to let it go.
Until next week.
Do you guys think Detmer and Owo are in a relationship, or
I heard somebody mention that today.
I mean, like the past couple of episodes, it's clear they're close. Like, but you can't.
There's something there.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen any indication really of, because we haven't seen these characters like separately, like when they're not in a crisis. Like we haven't seen them just have a conversation. Mm-hmm. But they got history. They're best friends, or they're dating, or they want to date, or something. So
I got kind of like a crush vibe, but not like they're in an actual relationship.
Which way?
Mutual? Who's
well, because Detmer is like such in a weird place right now. It's hard to get like a read on her. But I feel like Owo is like very concerned about her, and like she kind of maybe is developing a crush on Detmer. But it's hard to tell with all of like the emotional whatever that Detmer is going through, like where she's at.
Right.
Well, there's a term.
If they're best friends, all those scenes still work. Like
that's true.
If we went through academy together, and we were college roommates and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But also just like a collegial thing, like a Sulu Chekhov vibe. They're the ones in the front of the ship. Basically they're the ones who they see each other the most. They work together the most. They have to work in tandem. So that's the way I feel. I feel like they're just really close because they work together. They have to be such a unit.
Are y'all familiar with the term queer coding?
No,
not really.
Not enough. No.
See, I wanted to bring this up, but I was kind of afraid to bring this up because we are vastly unqualified to talk about this. Queer coding is a trope that a lot of shows have been using for a long time. Sherlock and Xena were kind of two of the biggest perpetrators of this, where you have two characters who are very clearly being set up to be in a relationship to basically bait in the LGBT crowd, and then they never do it. They just keep kind of teasing, but they never go far enough to quote unquote piss off the straights. And I didn't get that vibe from OO and Detmer either until a friend of mine was like, if they don't end up in a relationship, I'm going to be really upset.
Why does everything have to end up in a romantic relationship?
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not saying it has to. I'm just saying that this could. I hope it doesn't go that way.
So I mean, here's the thing. I'm kind of on Chris's side. Now I say this from a position of being a straight guy, but I don't think it matters if they're in a relationship. Let people see it from whatever perspective they want to. And if now 100%, okay. So I've got a little bit of not firsthand experience with this, but I've spoken with my sister who's married to another woman about this. And Legend of Korra, very much at the very end of it, like the very last moment of the very last episode, two women hold hands and walk off into the sunset together, essentially. And I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. And my sister was like, no, they telegraphed that a mile away. I'm like, and to me, I was like, oh, okay. But to me, that doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to read into that. But to my sister, she was like, yeah, that's like, I mean, so if they're doing this same thing with these two characters, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter to a group of straight people if they're doing it or not.
They have Culber and Stamets in an openly gay relationship.
They've got one couple, so they're good now.
No. What I'm saying is, why would they pull punches if they wanted to do another same-sex relationship? I think that,
and I'm not saying they are. I'm just kind of saying that
they're not coding now. They're just, so why would they have to do it in this case?
I don't think they're coding. What I think they're doing is I think it's a writing thing to let as many people read into whatever they want with these people.
Allow me to clarify my original question then. My presumption is that there will be more of clarification in terms of the parameters of the relationship, or at least what they think or want the relationship to be further on down the line during this season, or maybe in another season. I wasn't going from the perspective of, sideways glances are all we get, because I would find that unsatisfying. I'd be annoyed by that, because that's just like any other. If you're setting up a plot, go through the plot, and it seems like they're setting up something, and even if it's, I don't necessarily think it's got to be romantic or should be romantic. It can be romantic, but I would like for them. I mean, I was asking more as, do you guys think it's going to turn out to be this, or do you think it's going to turn out to be that? Not, do you not think they'll have it turn out to be anything? So, yeah, I guess I'm agreeing with everyone. I agree with you. So, I agree with you, Branden, in the sense that I'm not particularly rooting for them to be a couple or not. I'm fine either way. I agree with you, Chris, in that if they wanted to make them a couple, I don't feel like they would be, because I mean, Discovery's got their cred at this point. Like I don't feel like they're going to.
I mean, yes, they killed their gay, but they brought him back.
They killed their gay. They brought him back. They rekindled their relationship. They're happily together gays. They've got a non. So it's a transgender and a non-binary person who in the show are.
In the show, they don't really say what they are,
which I also think is great, because they don't,
because it's just like they're people.
Yeah,
Adira did call Gray her boyfriend.
Yes,
they were a couple.
She is.
Now there was.
Well, no. I mean, they have
interesting,
like in like the label of exactly what kind of queer they are. Like,
yeah.
She answers to she. and she says that he is my boyfriend. But that's like
Right.
as far as like the
So we got the pronouns, but
the details.
but
on the
we don't
spec-
have the birth certificate. Give me a
No,
long form birth
nor-
certificate.
Nor do we need it. And if if we weren't doing the show, would I even know like all this stuff about the actors? Probably not. But for the people to whom that matters, it matters. I'm not rooting for one nor the other. I was just curious if you guys had a prediction, I guess, as to which it was.
Well, I guess all I can say is from my perspective on representation, I don't need it to be like front and center and everything. I just need it to be there. And so like if I get an Asian guy in the background that's named John Smith, I don't care if that I get I actually don't want them to be all like, well, he's a fourth generation.
Got an Asian. We got an Asian.
Yeah, exactly. We don't. I don't need that pointed out. Like, just put them there so it's normalized, right? Like at some point, we just need to act like this is normal, whatever it is, whether it's being a different color or being a different orientation or being a different gender. Like it at some point, people just need to treat things like people. Just need to treat people like they're people, and that's really all there is to that.
And where I was going, I don't see a romantic vibe between them. I see a collegial vibe and a friendship vibe. And like I said, I think if Discovery was going to have them engage in a relationship, it wouldn't be coding it so that it was coy, so that a certain segment of the audience would understand what they were seeing. I think that they would just do it. I think they would just have them in a relationship as part of a storyline, because it's a different era now. Like, you
But
don't
I
have
also
to
think
code
that
it.
developing the relationship might be the storyline. Like maybe they're just in the beginnings of their relationship.
Sure.
It's not fully
Yeah.
a relationship yet. So it's
Yeah.
hard to portray that way.
Yeah, and maybe, like John said, maybe it's something that evolves over seasons. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, Worf and Dax. Did you get that vibe from them at the very beginning in DS9?
I never liked them together. So.
I was gonna say. Anyway.
So I'm just saying, like sometimes
I-
the relationship just it has to be built.
I hate to say I've never seen Worf in a relationship that I agreed that it looked natural to me. Because I mean, they put him with Deanna, no, and they put him with Dax, no.
I felt like he and Dax were actually. I bought that.
Narrative,
They made it work in the
sense.
narrative
It
or
just,
whatever.
For some
but-
reason,
So what
I-
Sean is
yeah.
so what Sean is saying is that interracial coupling is not natural.
Don't say that. Sean did not say that.
Brandon, get it right.
Interspecies. Oh, okay. Interspecies. Because there's
Worf-
no metaphors there at all, right?
Yeah, Worf is not even human. Okay,
Since
Can I
we're talking
point out
about
a few Easter eggs
representation,
in this
like,
episode?
I didn't. Y'all went over each other. I didn't hear what you said.
Virginia.
What'd you say, Virginia?
I was saying, since we're on the topic of representation, just one thing real quick that I actually didn't notice, Shane pointed it out to me, is there was one scene, I think when they were originally jumping to the seed ship, that there wasn't a single white man on that bridge at all. And I was like, that's interesting. Sorry to half of our panel here, but that I don't think that's ever happened in Star Trek before that I've noticed.
Well, I think that it wasn't.
Well, Saru is, but
the first.
I guess he's an alien, so.
But he
Yeah,
wasn't
right.
on there when they jumped to the seed.
He was the
seed
hostage
ship.
on the space
right.
station.
Yeah.
Right. Didn't they make a deal with the first episode of this season? Was the first episode of Star Trek that didn't feature a white male?
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the Orion guy seemed like he was a white dude painted green, but still he was green.
He was great.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's like to Brandon's point. Like, would I have noticed that if if it wasn't on the interwebs? Probably not. But the fact that right now the team that I work with at work, there is no white guy. There's me. There's 2 white women, and there's an Asian woman, and it's not. It's like you're saying, Brian. It's only unusual if you think it's unusual, because that presupposes that there is a norm, and that the norm
So does your
has a
boss
white
come
guy
to
in
you
it.
being like, John, I need something from the diversity team. Can you guys whip this thing up for me?
No, actually, the company that I work for is really pretty good about that.
So there you go.
Surprisingly,
I mean, that's
if you knew who I worked for. But no, they're really
you work for the
pretty-
Trump organization?
No comment.
All right, I gotta end things pretty soon, but I do want to
Is
talk
there
about
such thing as a
Giorgio for a
Trump
minute.
organization?
I want to talk about Chris's favorite subject, Giorgio. So, and I do want to. Did you guys even realize that this was going to be Nan's last episode?
No,
I didn't realize.
I was
I didn't realize
surprised,
she was
especially since they're putting her in the opening credits, weren't they?
well,
We don't
Yeah,
know
they
that
were
it's
at
We
the
don't
beginning
know
of
that
the
this is
season.
her
They were.
last episode.
We know that as of now, she is not on the ship. We don't know that this is her last episode.
She may be back. She may be back. But they
And they
did
gave
have
a
a
big
very
hug. I hope
tearful
our
goodbye
paths
between her
cross.
and Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Giorgio is talking with Cronenberg.
I didn't
weird.
know that's who that was. That's awesome. And
I
Yeah.
knew
until
he was
after.
somebody. I had to look up who he was, and I was like, "Oh, all right, this makes sense now."
Yeah.
I thought he nailed. That was great. Their interaction was probably my favorite part of this episode.
He seems like he's like
the
a
banter between
like
the
a
two.
he's a mirror universe expert. You know, he was doing her interrogation because of his knowledge on the mirror universe, I guess, you know. And he tells her that over the last several hundred years, the two universes have gotten further and further away from each other. And you can tell on her face that she kind of always thought that she could go back if she wanted to. And now that may kind of be off the table, that she can't get back. Of course, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that she's not going to try. But I have a theory that, you know, we keep talking about the Section 31 show that she's supposed to be going to, that she's going to have to go back in time to do it. This 31 show may take place in the 33rd century. It may not. She may not be going back anywhere.
The only
I
problem with
didn't
that
get the
is
vibe. Sorry.
Go ahead.
the only problem with that is that Shazad Latif is supposed to be also in the show.
I remember hearing that, but I haven't heard anything about it since. So
We haven't
I don't
heard anything about it since.
He
And we don't.
Maybe
and just because
that
the
doesn't mean
actor
he won't come. He
reappears-
can't come.
Right.
Maybe he comes to the future to chase down Michael or whatever.
Hey, maybe they
Or
find
how
him in
many-
the shuttle
how many
called
characters
Rodney
did,
Banks suspended animation?
Did what's his name Brunt play?
Hmm?
You know, just because the actor is coming back doesn't mean that character's gonna be who he plays.
So you think it might?
Yeah,
be
he might be a descendant of Ash.
Tyler descendant.
Or he
God,
might just be some other alien who
I'm
is
still
who
confused.
is the
It's
actor in a different role.
It's the Brunt Wayun Shran thing going on.
Exactly. Or
Sharonda
the
says that she
Arium,
likes
not
the
Arium.
floating of the eyes was wonderful. She
Can we
floated
talk
her
about
eyes
that?
and she floated her eyes and broke the holograms.
I thought
How
that
did
was
she? How did she know? Like, I mean, I thought that was really cool, but how did
She's
she?
the
How,
emperor.
how in the world would she know that in 900 years in the future? Oh, if I blink my eyes like this, I can disrupt their matrix.
Dude, she tried and it worked. I don't think she was like. I suspect that.
She's the Messiah.
Well,
No, she's a very naughty.
we don't see.
She's control. That's my theory.
As a blanket rule, for me, unless I know specifically or it doesn't make sense for a character to know something, they can know it. It's fine. She ran a galactic empire. She might know about holograms. It's fine. She doesn't know if she will work or not. So she had to try different. It's like when you're setting your universal remote, you got to try a few codes first, right?
I'm just saying. Okay, going back to developers. Whatever developer did not test for something like that.
Yeah,
You know
That's
what?
a
Maybe
lot
it's
of
not.
head candy,
Maybe
John. That's a lot of head
my
candy.
AI just completely breaks if you blink at it really fast.
break it just turned off. It just resets.
Is that any
That-
different from Kurt
She-
talking
it's-
computers killing themselves?
The girl, the hologram that was playing the girl one. There was a girl one and a boy one. The girl one looked a lot like the girl that played on that short track that played that captain on the Tribble episode. Looked a lot like her.
Salazar is who you're talking about there.
She's been in a couple other things too, but
I would doubt that it was her. I didn't even notice. I would doubt it just because she's kind of a known actress.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it was.
Okay, so with that, I really feel like the Blinky thing was setting up Control. I really do. As much as people are going to hate it.
Something's still going on with Detmer. We thought Detmer, that whole weird thing with Detmer was over last week, and it was PTSD, but she's obviously still got something going on.
Yeah.
Well, PTSD is going to go over several episodes.
Yeah, I know, but they're focusing on it that like it's something that's gonna come up.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sorry,
so
I'm sorry. With
Detmer is not Control. I am doubling down on that.
You and know that a trill is in your body from 1,000 miles away. They're not going to be able to notice malicious AI bots in your blood.
Not if it's important to the plot.
Yeah.
So because
they don't know to look for that.
I would be. I give Discovery at this point. We're in season 3. I give this show more credit than that. I do not think they're going to bring back the big bad that they've already defeated.
So then why did she freeze in the hallway? Why did Giorgio freeze?
Oh, Giorgio?
Why would you assume it's Control? I definitely don't think it's Control.
Because she went in there and stepped on the person with all the little nanobots getting on her shoe.
No.
I would accept Giorgio as Control a whole lot more than I would accept Detmer.
Yeah, so I think Giorgio was Control, and that's how she knew how to blink her eyes like that. And I think David Cronenberg was the head of modern Section 31.
I agree with.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
She knew how to blink her eyes because she knew that would work sometimes, and she tried it and it worked. As far as why she froze, it's because Mr. Cronenberg did something with his glasses that jacked her up. Because we don't know what.
Because she's got nanobots controlling her brain.
Wasn't that a black combat?
I want you to buy me food when this turns out to not be Control.
No, I don't. I hope it's not Control. I really don't. But like. There's some computerized. We're gonna find out she has some implant in her that was super secure back in the day, but is being hacked now or something. I mean, you can tell I work in cybersecurity.
There's definitely a plot, and there's definitely a reason, but for them to go to Control would just honestly just be lazy and bad. And like I said, I expect more from this show at this point. And I would be disappointed severely if that were the case.
All right. Brandon, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
Well, hang on. Before we go,
Brandon, you're done.
Okay.
Where can people find you?
There's a couple of TOS Easter eggs in here to point out that I don't know if y'all caught them, but well, first of all, when they first go into Admiral Asshole's office or that holographic display, one of the words on it was Kazon.
Oh, okay.
So they can't
Sigma
get in the door, but they can
Draconis,
get to the Delta Quadrant.
The first time we get in there, the aide comes up and goes, "Admiral, we're having."
They got it from the Voyager computer because it's right there.
I was like, why do I know the name Sigma Draconis? I looked it up. That's the system from Spock's brain.
Oh.
And the plant that the Barzan family was Beauregard. It was the same plant as Beauregard from the Man Trap.
But they were calling it a Venus flytrap.
Well, they said it. They just called it Venus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it looked almost exactly like Beauregard, which was the worst thing ever because Beauregard was just so clearly a hand puppet.
No, it was a hand. It was a glove.
It was a glove.
I'm wondering about that lullaby that we keep hearing because this is not the first time that we've heard it. That's going to be some kind of a code that was first heard around the burn, and it's just kind of it's kind of
they didn't time jump. They got caught up into a simulation with Control.
It's going to be all along the Watchtower. And
they're just trying to trigger me now.
They're Cylons.
I'm so worried. If we get to the end of this season and it's all like this was a simulation, I'm going to be so freaking pissed.
It was all a dream.
So all right, so plot lines they've set up that they need to resolve this season. the lullaby. Yeah, it's not that bad because they had a couple and they've ended a couple, so you can get some more. It's fine. They traded them out. The lullaby. How do these various entities know the lullaby? What's going on with Giorgio? That's really kind of as far as what they have to wrap up. I don't feel like they have to get Starfleet back. They don't have to, solve. They probably will solve the mystery of the burn, but I'm fine if they don't. I think they probably will, but I'm fine if they don't.
All right, Branden, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
I'm big now. It's my show now. You
I feel
can
like
find
you zoomed in. I need to move back.
You can find my stuff over at fandompodcast.com. There's been a bit of a hiatus during the pandemic just because work and life and stuff got busy for me, cybersecurity and all that. But we will be coming back soon. So fandompodcast.com.
And John?
You can find me on Captain Game Show. It's True Your Wordplay podcast on the Cosmic. Are we still calling it the Cosmic Potato Network?
Yes.
I don't know how you're gonna release these.
Yes, this comes out tomorrow, so yes.
All right, you can cut out the question, or don't. It's fine. I don't care.
I probably won't.
I'm the True Your Wordplay Cosmic, the Cosmic Potato Network. You can also find me on various other shows on the network, but mainly Captain Game Show. That's the one I care about.
Virginia?
You can also find me here on the Cosmic Potato Network with a show that my partner and I do called Wait You've Never Seen, where we talk about movies and TV shows that one of us has never seen.
Rick?
Oh, sorry. I would like to say to Sharonda that now I want to start a show called Disregard the L. Before I tell you where you can find me, which is like nowhere right now, I just love the fact that Burnham is all Starfleet as long as she's the one giving the orders.
Yes. And that's a Rue Calder on it. That was great.
You can find me at starbasecommand.net for about another month, and then all things are changing, and find me here.
And Chris.
You can find me on the Quantum Leap podcast with my co-hosts Matt Dale and Allison Pregler, quantumleappodcast.com.
All right. And that's going to do it for this episode. We will be back next week to talk about the next episode, which is called... Oh, no, I didn't write it down. So it's episode 6 of this season.
You really did need some snacks.
I also want to make sure everybody knows that starting December 14th, we're going to be doing the 12 Days of Christmas on the Cosmic Potato feed. So go over there and subscribe. And you can find us on the podcast feed. You can find us on Facebook, or you can find us on YouTube. We'll have video versions as well. Every day for 12 days, we're going to release a bonus episode of Cosmic Potato, talking about Christmas stuff and making some announcements and things like that. So that's our sister show, Cosmic Potato, the Super Fan Talk podcast. Until next time, remember, I'm extremely wicked, even for a Terran.
Dysfunction is the team.
So true.
Right.